Good morning, my fellow Malaysians. It's been a long time since I've been on the air with a podcast, as I've had a personal tragedy and I spent time grieving and looking inside. And now, as I look outside, I'm still grieving for our beautiful nation as I see the UMNO youth leader, Akmal Saleh, tearing this nation apart over the Sockgate saga. What is worse, that he's allowed to do this with impunity, and maybe it is time for all of us to look into this and see who is responsible for the peace and harmony in Malaysia. We have had great hopes when Pakatan Harapan came into power, and we threw out the UMNO rule of 60 plus years. We rejoice when Tun Mahathir came to power and we thought he had changed and will now make a difference. We all then learned that a leopard never changes its spots, and no matter what, we were back in the crony system. He resigned, thinking that all Malaysians would beg him to come back and stay, and instead, Tun Muhyiddin took over. And this too didn't last, as all he wanted was power and he wasn't thinking of the country. Out of desperation, Ismail Sabu was propped up and took over to deny Dato Anwar, who was actually the true choice of the people then. In the next election, Tun Mahathir and his party lost their deposit and he was unceremoniously kicked out. Finally, Dato Anwar was brought back with a slim margin that needed to be propped up by Sabah and Sarawak parties, as well as DAP, which actually had the largest number of seats but accepted the smallest number of ministerial posts to make sure this coalition succeeded. And to make it stronger, Dato Anwar accepted UMNO, which was a big mistake. Now, the Deputy Prime Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi was granted a discharge not amounting to an acquittal of the corruption case where he was involved, siphoning millions of ringgits from Yayasan Akal Budi. Malaysians demanded an explanation, but the courts were blamed and Dato Anwar denied involvement. After this, Najib Razak, who was in jail for 12 years, was granted a reprieve and his sentence was reduced by 6 years. The billions of US dollars that are still accounted for, and the nation is still paying off the loans taken by one MDP, was forgotten. We had no idea what happened to the money, and looks like when he is out in 6 years' time, he will enjoy all that money himself while we are still paying for it. There is only one captain of a ship, and he's responsible if the ship sinks. Malaysia is sinking with racial harmony, or rather disharmony, and our Prime Minister keeps building international relations. All this while, I blame the Malaysian public for not giving Dato Anwar enough seats so he would not have needed UMNO. But I forgot, Dato UMNO was actually one of the kingpins of UMNO earlier, and looks like he still has a soft corner for UMNO. He is the Prime Minister, and he could have put the UMNO youth leader Akmal Saleh in jail for sedition, as was done to Lim Kit Siang and Karpal Singh. They were put in jail for sedition then. But Dato Anwar refuses to do anything. I have run out of excuses for Dato Anwar, and it is apparent that the buck stops with him. And as if the Prime Minister has no direction, Malaysia, I'm afraid, is lost. He still has 3 more years to govern the country, and is fortunate that he has the Johor Sultan as the king, and he would support what is right. And the Prime Minister, Dato Anwar, has to do this, and the Agong will support him. Sadly, the Agong cannot interfere until there is racial strife and disorder. In our darkest hour, the Agong will think of something, but time is running out for Dato Anwar, and if he refuses to do anything, then Malaysia as we know it is doomed. I'm an eternal optimist, but the truth must be told, and Malaysians already know this, and I'm actually putting a voice to their thoughts. God help Malaysia, and I hope Dato Anwar thinks carefully. Still, it is not too late if something is done now. This is Dr. K.N. Singh with my long-awaited analysis of our affairs. And until we meet again, goodbye, my friends. Take care.